Hi, welcome to Money Confidence. I'm Crystal Akili, the Chief Financial Strategist here at Confidence Wealth, and every week I try to bring a topic to you that's talked about in my meetings. So the subject the last week has been the needs of insurance, and clients asking me, do I need this insurance? How should I look at it? Because what I find is people are either underinsured or overinsured. That's just something that we constantly come across, and the way to look at insurance, because a lot of times people look at insurance in either, oh my gosh, I can't afford it, or in a way that, oh, who wants to pay a premium, or do I really need this, or they're completely paranoid and get insurance for everything. So you have to kind of like step back and look at the purpose for insurance. I'll give you an example. People sometimes buy insurance for their iPhone. And really, when you think about an iPhone, if your iPhone breaks or you lose it, what's the cost of that? $1,000, $1,500? That's not a catastrophic event. That's a minor event that majority of people can still, be able to overcome. It's not a big deal. But it's interesting how many people actually do have insurance for such small things. Yet, when it comes to big things, such as what if, God forbid, I'm disabled and I can't go to work, they don't have disability insurance to replace that income. So example, if you're in your working years and you have a decade left till retirement and you got kids you're putting through school, you have a mortgage, these are your prime years. And if, God forbid, you get in a car accident or something happens and you are now disabled, do you have the ability to sustain your lifestyle and protect your family and make sure everyone's going to be okay? That's the type of insurance that you should be looking at. So, and I don't mean just that example, that's just one example. So meaning catastrophic is what the purpose of insurance really is for. I look at it as I get insurance, right? Or my clients get insurance to protect their family or their lifestyle. Example, if you're a doctor and you may possibly be, open to major lawsuits, one way to protect yourself is through insurances, right? To make sure that you are protected in case something like that happens. So that's that type of insurance, again, for looking at catastrophic events. Then there is proactive insurance to help with, future needs that may or may not come, but we want to make sure that our family is protected. Now, there might be a little bit more common, such as, let's say, long-term care insurance. So if we think, statistically speaking, 7 out of 10 of us will need some sort of a long-term care, we have to look at it and say, do we have the enough funds to pay for that? And if we don't, do we need any type of insurance to cover that cost now that we can afford it, not later when it's too expensive and we can't? That's one type of insurance to look and say, do I need that? Other ways to look at insurance, if you look, Ultra Wealthy does that a lot in terms of an investment. Are there insurance contracts that can give me possibly cash value where I can later on utilize tax-free? Or is my state going to be worth a lot more than I suspected? And now that the state planning rules may change and there's going to be, lower numbers, is my family have to pay for a big, hefty estate plan? I'll give you an example. We ran some scenarios for a client and we found out just if everything goes even as is of today, without any of the sunset rules that are coming into place in 2026, that their state, they would have to pay somewhere in the $4 to $5 million range, according to, running numbers based on, again, just today, let alone if the rules change, then that was going to multiply drastically. So what's the best way to do that? Do we want our kids to pay for that? And are we comfortable with that? Are there properties we're leaving them behind that we don't want them to sell, but if they have to pay this bill, where is that money going to come from? So this is one of the reasons, again, why the ultra wealthy use insurance. They use insurance to pay for that. So it's not necessarily that a lot of times utilizing insurance is for typical. So when you think about life insurance, you may think typically, well, I don't need life insurance. I'm no longer working. I'm retired and I don't really need it. But is it about the need, or is it about what the state needs? and what your desires are to make sure your kids are taken care of, right? Or whoever the heirs are have enough money to pay the estate cost, those taxes that are going to come due. So now I'm not saying you need insurance or you don't need insurance. I'm just bringing this up because these are the topics and conversation that has been coming up in my meetings. And I find that insurance is a tool to use in financial planning. And it's not always necessarily the traditional way of looking at insurance. But it really is important to really look at your family needs and say, what are the types of insurances that our family needs to make sure they're protected? And always look at it in terms of either an investment or catastrophic. Those are the ways you want to look at it. What you don't want to do is look at it for small things. Like, I'll give you an example. I had a client that had so many insurances, and one of the insurances that I found, I think I got rid of half of their insurance. It just did not make any sense. So there is such thing as overinsurance. And we're going through everything, and I see like they had insurances for if I'm on a train and there was a train wreck, my family gets $10 million or whatever it was. And I was like, let's just call her Sally. Sally, are you on a train a lot? Nope. Have you been on a train in your life ever? Yes. When? When she was 8 years old. Are you planning on going on any train trips? Not really. This specific policy was only related to accidents that happen on a train. So again, how did it make sense to pay for that policy? As inexpensive as it may have been, it just makes no sense. It's just throwing money, out the door for no reason. So it's really important to understand the type of insurances you have and the purpose behind them and how it works in your financial plan. If you've ever been wondering that, am I underinsured? Am I overinsured? Feel free to call your team here. We can look at everything together one more time. It may have been a while since you last spoke about this, and make sure you're not under or overinsured. And if you are friends and family of our clients and you're like, Crystal, I've never even had an insurance review. That's, by the way, one of the things we do anytime someone becomes a client. We say, let's go ahead and review your insurances, because we find that this is very, very typical of what happens with people in general. Even with umbrella policies, they're either under or over. So this is something that is good for everybody. So if you've ever been wondering and you're like, Crystal, I've never done that, feel free to reach out to us and we'll be happy to set up an insurance review meeting with you. That's it at this end. If you think of anything else that you want me to bring up in the next meeting, feel free to do that. Have a great one.